Every character, location, or experience you've read about in my crime fiction novels holds a piece of reality. I'm Helen Taylor. Welcome to the story behind my stories, the video podcast where crime fiction meets my authentic experience. Here, we delve into the real life inspirations and intimate stories that shaped my novels. Discover how my everyday encounters, adventures, and travels translate into tales as gripping as they are genuine. The story behind my stories goes behind the words on the page to reveal the backstory that inspires my writing. Hit follow or subscribe and ensure you're part of this journey. Hi. Welcome back. That was a little bit of a longer break than I'd intended, but with my surgery straight after Christmas, I've not been able to talk for a long time. So hopefully I can do this one. So it's out this week. So we left at the last episode, episode 2, having driven the route and seen how hard it was going to be. As I said there, Claire Tyndall decided to quit, but she didn't quit. She quit the cycling. She quit doing the actual cycle ride, but she was a tremendous support, particularly on the day because we'd booked a hotel. So because I had a start time of, I want to say 6:45, 7 o'clock, and so I had to go up the night before with the bikes and everything. And she came and she still stayed with me and she saw me to the thing, and then she dashed all the way home and out to where we'd watched the Olympics road race come through the year before, with all of my other friends and family, and got back just in time for me to hit there. And then they all rushed up to London to meet me on the Mall, which was really great. But then my training was very solo for just a short time. One of the ladies that I worked with, Tracy, she came to work one day and said, why do you want someone to train with for Ride London? Because another one of the mums from her school, her kids went to a different school than Lauren, she'd love someone to go out with. She goes out on a Friday, and I ran my own business at the time. So I met Claire Wrigley, and myself and Claire went out every Friday and rode the loop. So from here in Byfleet through to Ripley, from Ripley out towards Dorking, up that, for me, lethal Newlands Corner. I hated that. Once I'd was able to climb and could climb it, I still hated it because you got big thundering lorries, and it was literally a single lane, 2 lanes, but no pavement, or for American listeners, no sidewalk. So you've got lorries trying to overtake each other at pace when you're cycling up the edge. So I didn't like Newlands Corner at all. So we did that loop, Newlands Corner down into Dorking, round Box Hill, back through Leatherhead, back home. Regularly. Every week, just kept churning it out. And then one day we said, let's do the loop and include Leith Hill. Oh, I think that first time I did it, I was dreading it. because it was pushed in the training notes and everything as being the hardest climb. On the sort of cycling forums and the cyclists that go out and ride in the Surrey Hills quite a lot, Leith Hill didn't feature a great deal. And so it's sort of one of those things that you put in your head, I've got to do it at some point, but you don't actually, you procrastinate over doing it because it's something you don't want to do. You fear it, sort of thing. And that's what Leith Hill was for me, at least. It was always really good fun riding with Claire. We always talked, and the hills, we were both very different. So once I learnt to climb, I could climb the hills. I was very good at that. Claire was way, way, way slower than me. So I would get to the top and I'd be like, okay. And if initially I'd wait for her, but then she said, no, you go on. Once we sussed that I was the biggest scaredy cat out going downhill. I don't like descending. I don't like descending at all. So I'd feel my brakes. I'd go fast, but Claire, oh whoa, it's like a roller coaster of her. She'd like, legs out, screaming. She loved going downhill, and we so we'd start at the bottom of a hill, Newlands Corner, Leith Hill or Box Hill, and I'd get to the top well in advance. I'd then go down the other side, and she would flash past me. So she would take ages getting up, but she was so fast coming down, and I was such a scaredy cat that she would, by the time we got to the bottom of the hill, she'd be waiting for me. So we went out regularly every Friday, and we did that. First time we did Leith Hill, I think I got off and walked. It's a bit unrelenting. In my head, whether this is reality or not, in my head, Leith Hill is almost a Box Hill, a Newlands, and a Box Hill again. In that it's gradient chops and changes, and yeah, it's so leg draining. So when I came up with the name, it matched, because for me it was lethal on my legs, and obviously murder. So the first time I did Leith Hill, I was really surprised. Like I'd said in the previous episodes, when you get up to the top, there isn't anything there, not like Newlands and Box Hill, but also you are very much in sort of the undergrowth still. In one of the previous episodes where I've said the tower sits atop, but you almost come out of the woods, you've got the hump of the hill, and you've got the tower on top. So when you cycle up Leith Hill, when you go up the road, which you do on the bike, the car park and the hill, the road in the hill, is still within the wooded bit. So you don't get any views when you're on the bike ride for it. So it's just like this really hard work hill to get up, and you've got no reward at the top. At least at the top of Newlands Corner or the top of Box Hill, you've got some amazing views. But you don't on Leith Hill if you just cycle and you stay on your bike. So that is what we did. We did go up to the top of Leith Hill, the road bit, So we never saw the views that I mentioned, because you get them at the top of the tower, and that all peeks out above the foliage, the canopy of the trees and the woods that are there. But Box Hill and Newlands obviously all do have loads of people milling around. One, because they are known local climbs, like I've said, on motorbikes or cycling, and because you get rewarded at the top by cake and coffee and whatever, but also the views. Leith Hill was a lot more mysterious, and so it was the hardest climb. It was the loneliest, I suppose, because there isn't a load of people around. And even from the road, you could go into the car park, but then you've got to walk until you get to the tower and the cafe at the tower, which is just, coffees, teas. Whereas the other two, you're on the road. So when we're out training, you've got this leg draining climb to the top, and then you just keep going because there isn't anything there unless you want to park your bike up and whatever. And so we were obviously training for the ride where you're not going to get the break. But on the actual race, the actual Ride London 100, they had Starvale car park as a feed station. So there were toilets and water station and gels and an area where you could recoup, take a break, etc. So when I started thinking about the next UK-based book for Goodwin, and I thought, okay, I'm going to do it set on a bike ride. So I'm going to set it on Ride London so that I've got all of that background. But, the murder and the investigation can't go with the ride, sort of thing. So that's when I chose Leith Hill, because it was mysterious, because it was solitary. But then you also bring in, you can have a murder anywhere for any reason. And the location matters. But what I try to do when I'm writing my books is to bring into the book and the story, and not only the location, but how that adds to the investigation. And when I was learning about writing, particularly on the crime side, if you've got a perfect detective and it's a perfect place and everything works perfectly, very much fun. It doesn't, give you anything. So you need things that cause friction or distract or I can't think of the word that they use. The difficulties in the investigation that can hamper them. And that's how it all sort of melded together. It set it at Leith Hill, where it's quite solitary. It's wooded, it's mysterious, it's often misty and drizzly up there. And set it in the middle of a bike ride, because then you've got all of these people. And so that was where I started. You've got the atmosphere with the tower, sort of Gothic tower, solitary on top of that hill, looking out over everything, when literally just beneath it, in the canopy of the trees, things are happening. Bad things are happening. So, I am going to read you, got the book, I'm going to read you a section where it's a key part. I wanted the whole the cycle ride to add that complexity, that difficulty to the investigation for the team. So this is the bit where they have just found it is a murder. And this is Goodwin. He pulled out his phone. First, the official call, reporting the body, giving his ID, requesting Socko, the forensic pathologist on behalf of the coroner, an animal welfare officer, and any available units not tied up with the race. Next, Bowman. Bowman, if you don't know and you haven't read any of the other books, is D.I. Goodwin's DCI and also his best friend. Bowman answered before the first ring had finished. We've got a DB, Phil. It's bad. Oh, fuck, responded Bowman. My thoughts exactly. It's violent, multiple stab wounds. The dog's covered in blood, hasn't left her side. I don't want him moved. He's part of the scene now. It's going to be a Socko nightmare. I'll need to shut down all of Leith Hill. Every access point between here and the car park needs sweeping. There are cleat prints everywhere near the entrance, enough to keep forensics busy for half the day. But they don't come this far. We don't know if any dog walkers were out before the closures. And this place has access from all sides. You can climb up toward the tower from anywhere. It's a bloody nightmare. Have you called it in? Bowman asked. Yep, I've asked for Socko, the coroner, and any spare uniforms or bodies we can get. It's already a major operation managing an event like this, and now we're going to have a flood of extra contact complaints, people trying to push through once word gets out. And it will get out. We've got a man who came tumbling out of the undergrowth, covered in blood. Whether it's now or later, we'll have all the looky-lookies trying to get up here to see what's going on. We're stretched thin as it is with the race. I'm assuming you want me to call in the rest of the team, get things moving up here, and then start the investigation? Or do you want another team to take it? No way, said Bowman. You're Johnny on the scene, you've got it. I'll do what I can to get you bodies, shut it down, give you space to work. But yeah, you'll need your team, and you'll need them quick. Who've you got there? With me at the crime scene, I've got DC Angela Phillips. She's been here from the start, arrived after stopping for another rider, a medical emergency. That one went out in the first ambulance. Angela stayed when this all kicked off. I've got Niels and Horton. Niels is handling crowd control, keeping everyone calm, making sure no one arrives and no one leaves. He's command centre. Everything's running through him from the car park. Horton's on the phone with Penny. She's working remotely from her flat, gathering names, addresses and contact details for every cyclist we've got corralled. Horton's collecting the info. She's running it through the databases, confirming it's genuine, and sending photo ID back to Horton to match the person in front of him. Once we've verified someone, Horton's letting them go to finish the race. So far, no refusals or false info, but I'm sure we'll hit one eventually. We'll deal with that when it happens, hopefully minor. Once the cyclists are cleared, we'll relieve the stewards and send them on to another part of the route. So, you can see straight away, which was my aim, that having hundreds of cyclists stopping in that car park that the bloodied man had come out from automatically makes the forensics a nightmare. then you've got all these irate cyclists, one of which would have been Angela Phillips if this crime hadn't been taken her over, because she was there to do a PB. She wanted to race that race and get a great time. And you can read before that how she gets a bit frustrated with that and everything. But the point was that the cycle race should add to the investigation, cause them conflict and difficulties in order to start and run the investigation. And initially, they don't even know what it is. They've just got this man who's come out from the undergrowth covered in blood and collapses, and they don't know what's going on. So first of all, they have to sort out trying to get people not to leave and where this guy's come from, then head into the woods and they come across the body. And so then they need to make sure that nobody goes unless they know who they are, because they could unwittingly be witnesses or actual perpetrator. But then also, as things move on with the book and they start trying to piece together where people were through the murder, the bike ride causes, in some ways it benefits them and in other ways it doesn't. It benefits them in that they might have GoPro footage, tracking on Garmin's and things like that, because cyclists like to track they're doing. And so then they've got all of that info. But then on the other hand, that means with thousands of cyclists coming through, that the cell towers that are being pinged all the time are not to do with the crime necessarily. So it's not like you can say, oh, well, this person was there at this time when this person got murdered, because hundreds of people were there at that time when that person got murdered. So the setting of Leith Hill is a genuine, real setting, and it has its own mystery and its own complications. But also the event taking place on the hill that day, which is very much my experience, adds to the story in its own right, because it causes them so much problems. They're limited on resources because all the resources are out manning the race, because apart from the bit in London, the whole of the race goes through Surrey. So it's Surrey Police Force that is doing that. They're obviously also the dealing with inquiries from the public. They've also got, in those early days when I did the first year of Ride London, the roads were closed for the event. In later years, it became a rolling roadblock, but initially the roads were closed. And so then you've got all the local residents, can't get in, can't get out, and that creates a nightmare for the police too. And so all of that comes together to make that issue for all of the detectives in first accessing the place, then eliminating the people that aren't involved, and the resources in order to do it. When I say access, as the roads are closed and there's barriers up for people to line the streets and support everybody riding on the race. So then it's difficult for ambulances to get through, for the police to get through, for the coroner to get through. All of it. All of it adds to the urgency, the difficulty, and the data that they've got to work through in order to be able to start to solve the crime. So that is it for this week. I will move on next week to talking more about Angela Phillips and the cycling, because she is a little bit of me. As I've said before, I'm a little bit in all of them. They've all got traits of me and then other traits. And she's quite a key figure. Obviously, Goodwin can't do all these things that with the international and the UK, so he has a connection, and he does run the team and work in the same way in this as Connecting Trains. And we introduce a few new people, but this, as the series progresses, I do see it branching out into other members of the team being more prominent in a book. But yes, in this one, it starts with Angela Phillips, which, if you have read Connecting Trains, you'll know she went a bit rogue, lone wolf in that. So let's see how she's developed in this. So that's what we'll talk about next week. So I look forward to talking to you next week, and have a great week, everybody. I'm really pleased to be back at it. Bye.